Hi, everybody, it's Peg, and I am coming to you with a video from our live stream. This is the faster recorded version of our live stream, which is Art Joy is Sharing. It's a sister channel where Chelsea and I share every Thursday at 10:30 Central Standard Time with a live audience. And I'm just, getting ready for what we're going to show the audience. This is about an hour and a half show each week. And if you're looking for Shell's channel right now, she's having some YouTube issues. We hope to have her back up and running very soon. But, if you're looking for her right now, it's kind of disappeared from YouTube. So Art Joy is Sharing is where you're going to find her for the time being. So I'm just talking about the things that I gather together to put together a live show. And because we're doing this about Starlight Starbright, this has to do with stars, of course. And because we've got 4th of July coming up and all of those kinds of things, I'm just pulling out things that I think are appropriate for the season and for the projects that I might do today. So I look through my stash and I find things like um, napkins and index cards because we're doing index card a day right now. Um, and I don't know, just anything kind of red, white, and blue. I'm getting out my journal now because as I prepare for something like this, what I do is I might start with just some basic sketches to kind of figure out where I want to go with the whole project thing. I just quickly sketched out some stuff last night as I was sitting down to think about what we were going to do today. And then I go to my art room and I start gathering things like the index cards, like these napkins that have 4th of July images on them, um, these necklaces that are stars in silver, blue, and red. I have some stickers. These are things from the dollar store, not expensive things. Stickers that I made myself into postage stamps, um, stencils that have the stars on them, wooden pieces, and this little birdhouse that has a star on the front. So that's kind of where I'm starting from, and we'll see where we go from there. So I'm going to use these stamps and some stencils and some paint and just, get artsy with this. So I'm going to start speeding things up and we'll see where we end up by the end of this hour and a half. So what I did was to use some art that I had created. This is a fractal that I had stamped on and made, into some miniature stamps to use in other art pieces. And so I'm cutting them out with a stamp decal type pair of scissors, and I will set those aside for use with an artist trading card. You can see here's an alcohol ink background, and I can use that. But before I get into artist trading cards, I need to apply some napkin to the surface of my little birdhouse. These are dollar store napkins. They had the red, white, and blue on them for the holidays, and I thought, well, that would be appropriate. I also, we started talking about Shannon Green and her family situation, and, they've had another job loss, and so she really is relying on her Etsy store. And you've seen me this week using Shannon's artist trading cards to create artist trading card a day. Um, and if you want those or any other products, that little journal was one of her products. And this piece that I'm showing you, this scrap, is another one of her products. Check out her Etsy store. I think the link is being dropped into the chat, so you can find that. But it's by Shannon Green on Etsy, and this is the best way that we can help her because they are kind of looking at some tough times right now. So buy some cool art products, make something cool, and help a fellow artist. So I'm just measuring the roof. What I've decided to use here is this is a piece of foil that is attached to a piece of cardstock that is attached to some double stick tape, and I'm cutting it down to use as the tin roof on my birdhouse. I'm going to hit it with some StazOn ink just to distress it or make it a little bit darker. I found that the plain color was just a little bit too bright. We started talking about fun things like when we used to hang those tin pans out in the garden to scare the birds away. And so I'm going to trim that out and just, make a roof for my little birdhouse. This, I think, is one of those 6x6 embossing folders, and I just, ran it through my embossing machine. It doesn't matter what kind of embossing machine you have or what kind of folder you have, just find something that you think is appropriate and use that, and you'll have a nice tin roof for a birdhouse. So I punch a hole in the middle, and I'm just making a topper for it. We were laughing, talking about how I needed a ridge vent on my birdhouse, and talking about construction and that sort of thing. So it was a fun time, just thinking about constructing our little birdhouse here. So I'm using a little gesso, toning down some of that paper, distressing the roof with that gesso, and wiping off, putting on, just getting the texture that I want to appear there. So I'm just going to set that aside and I'm going to move on to other projects. I'm going to show you my iCads. These are index card a day, and because we are up to the 7th day, I started doodling, and Vicki Brown was in the audience. She's the one that's kind of encouraging me to get into the doodling, and I thought, well, that's something easy to do on an index card. So, and paint and things don't work real well on these unless you really have a nice coat of gesso, and because this is real cheap paper. I mean, index cards are not good paper for making art on, but they seem to work just fine for doodling. So, okay, I've got 8 of those done, so I think I'll move on. So, this month is all about Artist Trading Card a Day, and that means every day for 30 days, Shell and I are making an artist trading card. And if you haven't joined us on Art Joy is Sharing, which is a Facebook group, you might want to check it out because that's where we're sharing things like this. But you can use, you don't have to do that. You can use the hashtag ATCAD 2018 and make them and post them on any social media, and we will be able to find you that way by using that hashtag. So come and play with us. I'd like to see what you're making, and hope you share. So I've just used a little bit of modeling paste or soft gel and put that through that star stencil. I'm using some of Shannon's ATCs for the background, and um, now I'm coming back to this alcohol ink one because I need to let those dry. And I'm just going to start putting some layers onto this one. I've got some washi tape and that stamp, and got some tissue paper and some stickers, and we'll just create with that. So what I'm showing you now, these are just some papers that are done with alcohol ink, different types of paper. I have different vellum and that last one was just a painted piece of paper. But those can all be cut down and used for backgrounds for artist trading cards. So, if you're just creating paper or you have a stash of paper, it's a good way to use it up just by making those artist trading cards. So I'll get a glue stick and fasten those things down, and this one's got an adhesive backer to it, so I'll peel it off because I made them into stickers, and find one of those other stickers from the dollar store with a star on it, and I'll end up putting a quote on this once I change the edging with a little bit of ink, and that one is pretty much ready to go. I will put a backer on that so that I can put the information onto the back side, because artist trading card, right? You're going to give it to somebody else. And that means you put information on the back side of an artist trading card just to share the information about what it is you do and who made it and all that sort of thing. I happen to have a stamp that does that, so that's what I'm going to use here. And then I'm going to go back to these other two that have been set aside to dry. They're still not quite dry, but I want to start getting some color down onto that surface. And of course, my birdhouse isn't quite dry yet, but we only have an hour and a half to create each Thursday morning. So I need to get those things dried and get some color down onto the surfaces. So what I'm going to do is use some DecoArt paint, and I'm going to dilute it with a little bit of water because I want it kind of, watery, translucent. I just want to get a wash of color onto these surfaces. So I grab some yellow and some water and a brush, and you've seen me do this before. Squirt it with a little bit of water, dilute it down, and start applying it to my surfaces. And what will happen is it will move in around those textural areas and, just create that visual texture that I'm looking for. So now I'm doing the same thing, going back with some red, add that to the surface. And after I do the red, of course, will be the blue. So I'm working with those primary colors, and they work really well together. So anytime you have a project and you're not quite sure what to use, that's a good combination. Okay, so just doing a little bit of cleanup. Got to change out to my other color, get that down on there, brush that on, and then I will be putting a little bit of ornamentation on the birdhouse. Remember, I have all those things from the dollar store that I want to use, so I'm going to decorate the bottom with some of that beaded stars. Stars? Did I say stars? Yeah. They're kind of like pop beads, which I thought was kind of fun. But I'm just going to glue those to the base, give it a little bling bling, and then I can get out my varnish and varnish the surface of my birdhouse and my ATCs. This varnish has a little bit of green, what is it, not green gold, a little bit of, yeah, quinacridone gold. Yeah, let me get this right. Mixed into the varnish just to give it a little bit of an antiquing. And because it's a little bit on the orange side, I also get out some Payne's Gray and use that to tone things down a bit. And so I've got those in place, putting a little more glue on just to keep things in place. I don't know, I might put some straw type things or something underneath there, make it look more like a birdhouse. How they're always stuffing everything with all of the pieces of grass and leaves and whatever they find to put in their nest. Okay, so here we go. Now we're doing the varnish. I put a little bit on and I wipe it off. I don't want it real thick, but I'm going to do that to both my ATCs and my birdhouse. And then there's the Payne's Gray, and just getting it into the shadows and those areas, cracks and crevices that I want to darken up a bit. So we're kind of coming into the home stretch now. I will finish this up. Not everything will be on the video because I have to add a little bird. I mean, it is a birdhouse. It needs a bird, so I'm going to use one of those birds from Tim Holtz collection. And I've got out the pipe cleaners to dress things up. We start talking about pipe cleaners and stars and things, and so I'm playing around. And of course, I have to make a gold star out of the pipe cleaner, right? So if you're not one of our subscribers, what I would ask is that if you're new to my channel, that right below this video, you click the like button, hit the bell to be notified, and the subscribe button. And that way you'll get notified each time I have new content out here for you. And if you're not familiar with Art Joy is Sharing, go find that channel because we do live stream. If you like to watch live streams and you have questions for us, and you just want to chat with everybody else that's in the audience, that's the place to do it. So I will do some final embellishments on my ATCs and take some final shots, and that'll be it for today. So thanks for watching, everybody. I do appreciate you more than you know. You are the reason I am here, and remember, you make a difference, so be kind. Bye for now.